Hello everyone, I am Nightwing, one of the admins over at Video Games and Comics, and today we'll be doing another video with you. I'm here with my friend Sam. Say hello, Sam.
Hello, everybody.
So we've got some feedback on our last video, and we're going to implement it now. So this video is on Infamous, the game series, and why we love it so much. Do you want to give a bit of background, Sam?
Well, it starts off with
Spoilers, by the way, guys. Spoilers.
spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Yeah, if you haven't played the game, I definitely say that you should. Basically, you wake up in an explosion in the first game, and for some reason you've got electric powers. And you kind of run around, and you kind of get to meet the NPCs and other main characters. And the second one is basically a continuation of that. To be very brief anyway. And then the third one is an entirely different character with entirely different powers, but the same kind of layout.
Yeah, so in the first one,
yeah.
you're first two, you're Cole McGrath, someone who has
Yeah.
electric powers, which makes no sense from an explosion, but sure, whatever, we'll go with it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, electricity's cool, explosions are cool.
Exactly, it makes for a fun game. And the third
Yeah.
one, you're Delsin Rowe, just a normal person whose conduit, which is what they call people who have the potential to get powers, is his powers to absorb other people's powers, where Cole's power was just lightning. That's all he could do.
I have to admit, lightning is probably my favourite, even out of the Delson Rowe powers. I have to admit.
Yeah, because Cole has just electricity in number one, and then in number two he has electricity, and depending on what path you take, you can either get ice or fire. But that's just fire some weird machine. It's too complicated to go to.
Fire powers always seem to be a bit lackluster. I think everyone probably went for the ice powers immediately purely because of the ice jump you could get about halfway through the game.
Plus, it was just so much easier to crowd control with ice than it was with fire.
Oh yeah, you just freeze everyone. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Where Delsin's powers was like ashy smoke, rocks, which is terrible, but I'll go into that more later. Video game power, which was one of my favourites, and neon.
But I quite like neon.
Neon was fun. But I mean, this is our favourite, well, one of our favourite game series, and I think it's just a lot of fun. I think Cole is definitely the better character out of the two.
Absolutely. I think that might just be because maybe if I played Second Son first, maybe if that had been the first one I played, and then I played Infamous 1 and 2, maybe I'd connected with him better, but I do think that Cole McGrath is probably my favourite character out of both of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, Delsin is a great character, don't get me wrong, there's nothing bad with him. He's a bit of a hipster, but, you know, I can forgive him for that.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't have the same effect Cole does, and I love Cole, man. Gotta say, he was great.
I think with Cole's powers, it kind of feels more organic, kind of, it's electricity, and you know, like when people go in water and you shoot the water, they die. When you fall in the water, you know, you die. It never seems to rain in the game, but that's all right because he would probably die.
If it rained, you would die in seconds, which is
one weakness.
Something people moaned about a lot in the first two games was that you couldn't step in water. But
well, I mean,
they make sense. You can't.
Yeah, because I mean, his excuse could be like, "Oh, sorry, I can't, you know, fight crime today. I can't go and take on the main baddie." Why? Oh, because it's raining. I'm sorry.
But what was awesome was number one. No, was it number one or number two? Number one's ending, where lightning shooting out the sky as you go through the mission, and you just absorb the lightning.
Brilliant.
That was just amazing because how you use the powers in the game is in the top left corner of your HUD. There's like an electricity bolt type thing. It doesn't look like a bolt, but whatever. And when it drains to the bottom, you have to absorb electricity from the city to continue. So you could drain from like lights and TVs and stuff. But when it's that mission and the lightning's coming out of the sky, you're just so overpowered, and the destruction is just amazing.
Which is why, like for me, when I use the word organic, it's like compared to like video game powers and neon powers, you kind of have to have a bit of backstory. Like, well, I don't know, maybe he fell in a video game or something. But with electricity, you can say, well, you know, everything's run on electricity now, so you can just go up something and zap it. Exactly. Whereas, like, the rock powers you mentioned earlier, in Second Son, I believe you can only get them from other people who have rock powers, isn't it?
Yeah, so my problem with the rock power in Second Son was in each power set has its own special finisher move when you fill up your karma bomb, which you do by doing good or bad things, and it had this really awesome kind of finishing move but the rock power didn't have that at all. And it also didn't have a few other elements, like you could only absorb it after you killed dead enemies. And it wasn't every enemy either, it was special type of enemies that had rock powers themselves. So it's kind of really annoying, and it's a speed power, which in all other three sets is rather fly or run really fast. It was just, you turn into a massive rock ball while in the air, which does nothing, or you just turn into a big rock dude.
But it seems, I imagine, it would seem like the most fun if you could kind of maybe run through buildings, or if there was better terrain damage.
Oh, definitely, but you
I think
can't.
they could have done more with it as well. Like maybe they could have done some kind of big boulder thing. I don't know. I've not really played Second Son an awful lot, but from what I know, the superpowers for the stone are a bit lackluster, to say the least.
It is, and it's really good for hovering. You can, which makes no sense. You can hover for like forever with rocks that would weigh you down in real life. That just never quite makes sense.
But then again, you can kind of, earlier in the game you're controlling smoke and neon, so I guess the boundaries for reality are a bit stretched as it is.
Yeah, but still, you've got to apply some logic. I could believe I could run fast on neon, but I can't practically fly with rocks. I think
Let me just question the rocks for a second. Hang on, how does this work?
I just don't like rocks. I have a thing about the rocks, but one of the great things about the Infamous series is the character Zeke, and everyone loves that guy.
Yeah,
He
man,
was amazing.
Don't even get me started on Infamous 2. The ending for that, because basically every game, Infamous 1, 2, and Second Son, you basically get a karma choice, and you can choose to be a good guy or a bad guy, and that affects how your powers look. So if you're a bad guy, you get red lightning in Infamous 1 and 2. If you're a good guy, you get blue/whitish lightning.
And in Second Son, your powers become a little bit more red looking in Second Son, and you're also
kind of orangey.
Yeah, and your character look changes in all three games. So if you're good, you look quite bright colours. The sky's bright. If you're bad, it's a really dark sky. And in number 1, he gets all veiny with black veins. And
I found the most drastic change is like in the first one where he gets covered in oil and stuff.
Yeah.
And that looks a bit unpleasant. I mean, I can see what they were going for.
No, I don't think that made sense to me, because you get oil on your face. So if you go good, it disappears. But if you go bad, it's like the oil seeps into your veins.
Well, it's like, because it's like the plague thing, isn't it? It's like that's the reason that there are all the Reapers and stuff, which are the main like bad guys, like the NPC bad guys that you can go and kill and get experience for in the basic missions.
Yeah.
I think I like Bad Cole in Infamous 2 the most, purely because his skin goes grey. He has like a red star in his jeans, and he gets like a black amp as well, which is basically what his melee weapon is that he carries around. And
he becomes the Beast, and who wouldn't want to become the Beast?
Exactly. Who wouldn't want to become the Beast?
It killed me in the good ending. In a good ending, you fight the Beast, and you choose not to become him. And you have to, if you do that, all conduits, which are people with the potential of powers, die. Even if they don't have powers at the moment, they're going to die. So he's sacrificing himself and his race, so to speak, to survive. And he has to say goodbye to Zeke, and they're like brothers, and it's all touchy-feely. And oh man, it was so good.
I also kind of like, it's weird because it's kind of like an outbreak, but like the most recently it's been things like a zombie outbreak. It's like through fungus, like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
You've got this entire world that's taken over by fungus, from what I've seen anyway, because I've not played it. Whereas in this one, it's kind of like a man-made kind of illness that people get that turns them into conduits.
Yeah.
Or kind of like releases their potential anyway to be conduits. And I think it's a nice spin on the morality clause. Like with zombies, it's like, well, you have to kill a zombie, but do you save other people? And that kind of, you see that in The Walking Dead and The Last of Us and things like that. Whereas Infamous, it's just normal people who have powers that are similar to yours when you're the protagonist.
Yeah, it's got a good story. I think number 2 is my favourite out of all 3 in the DLC. And the DLC, just in case you didn't know, was for number 2, and you became like a vampire type thing. Let's not talk about that.
No, it's not. But yeah, I think number 2 is definitely my favourite as well. If nothing else, just because they've taken a game and they've done everything right to make it better.
It is literally in my top 5 games.
Not to mention, like, it looks so good as well. Well, when I first played Infamous 1, I was blown away by how good it looked. So I thought, looking back, it's not as great. But back when I first played it, I thought it was amazing.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you guys have never seen graphics for Infamous 1 and Infamous 2. Google them right now. Or any other search provider, there are others. But if you look at the graphic comparison between Infamous 1 and Infamous 2, it's just so drastically different.
It sort of reminds me of the cutscenes, you know, in the Force Unleashed, going on a bit of a tangent here. But in Force Unleashed 1, you look back and you think, well, this is all amazing new technology, wow. And then you look in the cutscenes of the Force Unleashed 2, and it looks unreal.
It's a massive leap.
It's a massive leap. It's incredible. And they've kind of done the same with Infamous 1 and 2.
Yeah, definitely. And it's got that comic book type cutscenes at times.
Yeah.
It's a really cool touch.
Yeah, they're very, very cool. I really like that.
But looking at Second Son, I really like the game. It's a great game for the series. But my problem with it is it's a little bit short. And taking over districts, which is something that's always been a big part of Infamous 1 and 2, that's a lot easier than it should be. But the problem is it just kind of doesn't mention Infamous 1 or 2 at all. And the whole point of Second Son, which that name is never mentioned at all in the game, no one knows why it's called Second Son. It actually doesn't make much sense. But it's just... It kind of pretends like number 1 and 2 happens. I mean, Conduits are now renamed to bioterrorists. Cole's dead. None of the other characters make a cameo, except from the Beast, but it's never even called the Beast. It's kind of like it never happened. But it did. It's set in the same world. It's just they rarely talk about it. The only way you get hints and references is if you look around the city, there's Easter eggs, or if you pre-ordered it and got the Cole's Legacy DLC, then there's references to characters and you see Zeke. But that kind of annoyed me that they didn't even really think to mention, oh, okay, this is what happened 7 years ago, because that's the time gap between 2 and Second Son. They kind of just skipped it.
On the flip side, I mean, like, we get why. I think they stated why it was because they wanted to attract new players. Because obviously, if you have the third game in a long-running, well-developed series, you don't want to alienate people by saying, well, you have to play the first 2 games, which is basically saying, buy our stuff. So I can understand.
From business standpoint, it makes sense. Just not as a fan.
Yeah, they're a bit lacking on fan service, yeah.
And their DLC they gave free was Paper Trail, was Infamous Second Son. And it was really interesting, and it's quite groundbreaking that they did missions on the game, then you log onto your computer and do missions on there, and then the save can transfer really easily. And that bit was good, but the stuff you have to do on a computer was ridiculously hard.
Yeah, I mean, what did you have to do?
Well, the ones that always stick out more, because they never gave you any instructions, you had to go through the website's computer code until you found certain keywords. As a normal player, you don't even know how to get to the computer page's code. And
if you imagine someone who's just picked up the game,
it's just impossible. And it was filled with missions like that. So I'm not, being that kind of gamer that moans things are too hard, but for a casual gamer, they would never know how to do that, and there was no helps, hints, or instructions.
I suppose maybe that was their way of fan service. Maybe
I don't know, because it had a really bad ending. And I mean, really bad. Like, there's a main character's story you're following, and then she's just like, "Oh, hi, bye. I maybe see you later." That's literally the ending. It's terrible.
I think another thing that I like about the Infamous series, something that really comes out in Infamous 2 is just how long the games are.
Yeah, Second Son's a bit short, but Infamous 1 and 2 is very long, which is good.
Especially if you put the time into it, if you really do go for all the collectibles and you upgrade and you get the best powers, like what you want power-wise, and you get all the blast shards, it really is quite a long game. You can put many, many hours into it.
Especially if you're going to platinum it, it will take you a long time. And unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to end as we're closing up to our 15-minute mark. Thank you all for listening. If you're not a fan of our page, go like it. Link will be in description on our YouTube page. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.